And welcome back to the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. As always, we try to give you news that you could use. Today is no exception to the rule. We are proud to have on the line with us right now the commissioner of the Southland Conference. That is none other than Mr. Tom Burnett. Sir, how you doing? And welcome back to the show.
I'm doing great, Mike. Always great to catch up with you. Look forward to our visit.
Yes, sir. It is always a good time. The last time you and I were on this chat line, it was not the best of days, but you said brighter days were to come. And lo and behold, here we are. Bring us up to speed about the newest addition that was made mention on this week about the Southland Conference.
Yeah, thank you. We have gone through a process through the summer months since you and I last talked, and we did a lot of we did a lot of work, kind of targeting what could be a new member institution in the Southland Conference. It's a process that's taken some time. It's been kind of methodical, thoughtful, but where we've landed, at least in an initial effort here, first step, so to speak, is we announced earlier this week that Texas A&M University Commerce, located about an hour east of Dallas, a very good kind of a Division II powerhouse program that plays football and a lot of the other sports we sponsor, will be joining our conference effective on July 1st of next summer, 2022. And we feel like we've kind of concluded a first step and, kind of building back our conference after we did take on some departures last spring. So really pleased about it. They're very excited about it in Commerce. Again, this is a team that won the NCAA Division II National Championship 4 years ago, and just a very prominent Division II program, not only in football, but across a lot of sports. And we think that will translate very well to our FCS level of football and our other Division I sports offerings.
Yes, sir, and it's almost laid out, if you would, on a golden platter. It's still in your footprint of the conference. It's right in your backyard from where you are centrally headquartered, and it's tied to that ever so familiar Texas A&M system. And with that being said, it's a promising backing and a future moving forward with Texas A&M Commerce being added to the conference. They are no stranger to success, and we know that football is a driving mechanism, but it doesn't hurt that they've been successful in that football playing field, correct?
Correct. Yeah. All of the things you mentioned there, they really do check a lot of boxes. And it's just an outstanding university. And I think what we really found out when we were visiting campus, we were talking to administrators, coaches, and such, they already felt like they were in Division I. And this is just almost kind of a paper designation that they have from the NCAA that was holding them back. But across the institution, they will tell you they are a Division I university, and this is just a logical next step for them. So whether it's athletics, academics, the university's outreach to alumni and such, they're about to expand in a big way here in the Dallas metro area, and that's just a lot of synergies coming together at one time for that university, and we're proud to be a part of that and help them make it.
Absolutely. The facilities are already, as you mentioned, in the making, if not already there. And the fact that they've had the success, and like you said, their mindset was that on a Division I level to begin with. Well, the next question is, what's the next move? We know that there are other programs that are possibly in line, i.e. West Texas, also part of that A&M system. Is that possibly the next step that you could be headed as you continue to expand?
Well, I don't know that we'd get into specific names or anything like that, but we have had conversations to some degree, mostly internally with our own membership on what exactly they're looking for. And certainly, as we started this process way back early in the spring, late winter, we were looking at the entire landscape. Who are Division I and Division II possibilities in our footprint. And, we've stuck to that, as you've mentioned. We're going to be a geographically sound conference. We're going to be I think this year we are the only Division I conference based solely in the Central Time Zone. We are going to really focus on a triangle that runs from Dallas down to San Antonio and Corpus Christi, over encompassing Houston and on to New Orleans, and then back here to Dallas. We're trying to stay in this part of the country, and we think that's advantageous for competition. You get to and from your competitions in a good way, and then that just helps you academically and keeps our student athletes on campus more. So we're really trying to stay focused on, maybe a two-state area, maybe a little bit outside of that border, but that still makes all the sense in the world to us. And, we're just not going to fly teams across time zones and in airports. We're going to stay close to each other, and, who the targets might be within that geographic area still remains to be seen, but we're very active in continuing our process.
Very good. Once again, we're talking with Commissioner of the Southland Conference, Tom Burnett, on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. The addition of Texas A&M Commerce to be joining the conference on July 2022. That's going to be somewhat of an accelerated move in most cases like this. Is that not right?
You're correct, although I would say we're starting to trend to more quicker exits and entries from one conference to another than maybe we did a decade or so ago. I think we went through some processes where some of our departing programs stayed as long as 2 additional years before they left. Some left an additional year. We made some decisions to make some quicker decisions with some of our departures, and of course that applies to those coming in as well. So, I think our folks are anxious to get going and get our new members up and running as quickly as we can. And I think that the new members may look at it that way too. They're ready to go. They've got Division I on the brain. They want to begin that process with the NCAA and would rather do it sooner rather than later.
Well, it makes all the sense in the world. And what's the point of hanging on to, let's say, a breakup, and we know you want to be going and we want you going, and no sense of dragging this thing out. Let's expedite this as quick as possible and let bygones be bygones, and that way you can continue to pick up and move forward.
Absolutely. It's kind of the way of the world now. I think we're seeing that in some other conferences, although maybe a little bit different example would be kind of what the Big 12 may be doing with Texas and OU leaving, and they're not quite sure yet when that will happen. But a lot of that's tied into their media rights and how all that gets handled. So maybe a little apples and oranges there on the comparison, but I think in most cases now schools are looking to make these changes as quickly as they can.
Yes, sir. Now, it's ironic that you would bring up the media rights deal, and we know who the big elephant in the room is across the gamut, and that, of course, is ESPN. Now, it's no secret that they are actually pushing everyone toward ESPN Plus packages. They're kind of slowly getting rid of ESPN 3. Do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing in comparison to the Southland Conference?
Yeah, and we're into the second year of a largely expanded agreement with the networks. We've had a relationship for 30-plus years with the networks. And, I think when we looked at things, we realized that there's just always going to be limited space on the main linear channels, of ESPN2 and U and all of that. And there's some great opportunities, and we get to participate in a lot of those. But we really thought the future was in the digital space, whether it's ESPN Plus or what remains of ESPN3. And then, there's some other similar technologies out there that provide streaming in a TV format. That's where we saw our future. And we've made a significant investment, with, our involvement with the network. And we're in the process now. You're going to see really an exponential growth in the number of productions that come from the Southland Conference. We did close to 300 last year with our membership. I expect a similar number this year as we continue to invest in the technology on our campuses, and the schools themselves will begin producing every volleyball match, every basketball game, every baseball, softball, soccer game. So, that we think that's part of the future. We really see it as kind of the mainstream in Division I broadcasting. And then we're also seeing, big conferences like the Big 12, the SEC, get more involved with that. And, we're going to provide that for all of our members, whether they're in the conference now or they're coming later. We just feel like that's the way to go.
Yes, sir. Now, with that being said, with that being the way to go, when you said apples to oranges in comparison earlier, do you see that as a disadvantage to your smaller institutions, being that the money revenues are not as fluent as it would be on the larger scales? And would there be, I know you used to have your own network at one time, a digital network through, I think, like a YouTube channel or something. And do you see yourself going back to that or kind of moving forward with the ESPN package?
Yeah, certainly, as contracts dictate, you're going to follow the pathway that your contract allows for you. So, but there will be a time in the future where, that will be up for negotiation again. And, we'll kind of see, we kind of put ourselves in a position where we can be nimble. We can keep an eye on the technology. If there's an opportunity to get back into more traditional television like we used to do, we may take that on, but we think certainly for the foreseeable future, the future's in the digital space, and believe that there's some revenue potential there that we may not be realizing at this point, but I think a lot of that's because we're still brand new in the space. So we're learning, we're growing, and I know one school, Texas A&M at Corpus Christi, put their first volleyball match, their first campus broadcast on last night. So they've moved into the space as well. We expect all of our other schools to be there at some point during this year.
Yes, sir. Well, it's very exciting times. I have my theory about that. I'll talk to you, as I say, off the record on that one, because I think it's enough room at the table, as you mentioned, for everyone to be involved. And sometimes, and I'm just saying this from my own observation, we could give too much to one company, and then we find ourselves all bottlenecking through that same funnel, and it's only one person that's actually winning throughout that. But like I said, we'll save that for another day.
I look forward to that. Yeah.
Yes,
look forward to that.
Yes, sir. Because we're talking now about the Texas A&M Commerce addition and the potential addition of more. If you had a crystal ball right now, Commissioner Burnett, what number would you see the new look Southland standing at?
Mike, I would say minimally, I think our membership likes either 10 or 12. I think that, we've been as high as 14 before, and that kind of got a little bit bulky when it came to scheduling, traveling. When you have 14, you can't possibly take all of those to your championship events. It makes it a little bit harder, that much harder to win, qualify and win tournaments to go to the NCAA. So I think there's a more manageable number in there, and I think right now, initially, we see ourselves getting back to 10 and then maybe making another step to 12 in the coming years. But, that's mere speculation on my part. The membership stuff, it's a two-way street, that whether it's a Division II school that has a Division I dream, or it's someone else in another conference that just thinks that maybe they need to experience something new and take on a new challenge and maybe a new neighborhood, so to speak, with conference associations. So, it's a lot of back and forth, and, I think there's going to be a lot more of that to come in Division I. And we're just looking forward to, really building a great future, honoring our past, but not being anchored and unable to move because of, what happened before. We're really everything's looking forward, and just think we can provide some great opportunities in our great geographic region.
Absolutely, and a part of that has been redirecting your media day. You had it in Lake Charles this past summer, and it's going to be more of those things kind of centrally located, as you mentioned, in the two states of Louisiana and Texas. Not that it hadn't before, but what are the chances that you would kind of gravitate those things more back toward the mothership in Frisco, if you allow me to put it that way?
Well, it's interesting because, we in recent years, we haven't had a member school in close proximity to Frisco. Now we have that with Commerce. We've always kind of seen the geographic center of our conference as Houston, and we kind of still do. That's where we play our basketball tournament, and we'll play it for the 15th year in a row out at the Merrill Center in Katy. Obviously it's kind of served as the crossroads when you've got teams in San Antonio, Corpus Christi, in the city of Houston, and of course in Louisiana. Teams are still going to travel through that. Houston is where we recruit not only student athletes but students, and in many regards Houston is probably still the geographic center, kind of the magnet for everything we do as a league going forward. And I don't see that changing for the foreseeable future, but all of these major metros are very important to all of us and our presidents, and we want to compete in those areas, and we want to show off our product in some of these large major metros.
Yes, sir. Now, you also just recently did an update or a change of venue for your baseball championship. Is that not right?
Yeah, we were playing for a few years at a number of minor league ballparks. We had been at Sugar Land, at Constellation Field. We were planning to move it down to Corpus Christi, Whataburger Field, but that was the COVID year, and we had to cancel that, unfortunately. And then as we were planning for 21 this past spring, we were still in COVID mode. We weren't quite sure. We felt we would somewhat scale it back, but then, also provide a terrific baseball environment on campus. And we wound up playing at Southeastern Louisiana over in Hammond. This coming year, we've got something really interesting. We're going to split our tournament in two and play a couple of 4-team sub-tournaments that will kind of follow the NCAA regional format, and then our two winners will meet at the site of the higher-seeded team the following weekend and play a best 2-out-of-3 series. So that will determine our baseball champion. So we've had to get a little creative in what we do, but our coaches are excited about that. It gives them some different competitive opportunities. It certainly won't be easy to advance, but there should be a good chance that we'll be putting forth a really good baseball team into the NCAA tournament.
Well, I like the design of that. That really is intriguing. I'm a baseball guy personally, so I really believe, especially in that best 2-out-of-3 series, if you're going to have a true baseball championship like that. And beyond what it seems like on the surface, you actually save money making a move like this, right?
Yeah, we really could. And again, it's going to depend on how the seeds fall and how teams have to travel. But, yeah, there could be some savings there. Certainly, if you presume that, one of the two home teams the first weekend will win and they don't have travel expenses and such the following weekend. So, there's a lot of things that go into that. And fortunately, I think all of our schools are finished with classes and exams, so there's no missed class time implication with that event, and that's always a factor as well.
Now, how did you come about with this formula, if you don't mind me asking?
I will tell you, we've got a group of creative baseball coaches, and they've always thrown different format ideas kind of up on the wall, and some of them stick, some of them don't. But, I think they all saw this as a great way to promote what we think we have a high level of baseball in this conference, and it's just another way to better promote that, televise more games. We'll have multiple games going on at the same time on the first weekend, and kind of wind up with a great 2-out-of-3 championship series at the end. So I'll give all the credit to our coaches who have had that and some other creative ideas over time.
Yes, sir. Now, you spoke about the television impact. In most cases, usually, of course, ESPN kind of dictate how and when you played your championship game. How are you able to circumvent that with this best 2 out of 3 series?
Yeah, it will be in the digital space, and when you're doing an ESPN3 or ESPN Plus production, you've got more flexibility, more control over your start times. Whereas linear television, like an example would be our basketball tournament final on ESPN2, our women's basketball tournament final on CBS Sports Network. They will kind of slot in where they can fit us, and normally that's kind of a 8 to 8:30 period on a Saturday night of championship weekend, and our women play around lunchtime the following Sunday, which would be the day before the women's selections for the NCAA tournament. So in that environment, you're kind of more dictated to, so to speak, by the networks who tell you what time they can put you on, whereas the digital, we kind of tell them what time we plan to start, and they accommodate it on their digital platform.
Right, and then for those who couldn't catch it live, could always go to an on-demand or a rescheduled later program in the linear world.
Yeah, that's right, and everything on the digital platform is archived, and it's available really, like we'll have 3 football games televised tomorrow on the digital platforms, and all 3 of them will remain archived at least through the end of the football season, and maybe even into the rest of the academic year. But so that's a benefit too. So there are times the commissioner has to go back and watch a certain play, or gets a call about an officiating call or something else that happened in the game, and you've got to go back and review that. Usually I've got my devices all lined up. I've got 3 games going on at once, but it's kind of hard to watch 3 games at once.
That's the fun part of being a commissioner.
Maybe so.
Yes, sir. Once again, we're talking with Tom Burnett, Commissioner of the Southland Conference, the new additions and the exciting new moves being done with the new Southland, as you say, Southland strong, and nothing but great plans and futures ahead. Sir, we thank you so much for making yourself available and being as transparent as candid as you've always been. And at this time, we want to give you an opportunity to have some closing thoughts and comments as we wrap this segment up.
Well, Mike, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to visit with you and your audience, and just always find great pleasure in that. And, this is an interesting time for college athletics. We've got so much going on with the transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, a constitutional review of Division I athletics, and really the entire NCAA. And, there's just so much in the air about what the future will be. And if anyone can expertly predict any of that, I will tell you they're probably missing a few things, but because we really don't know what's ahead of us, other than I am pretty safe in saying there's going to be more conference realignment. There's going to be more changes in the marketplace as it comes to the student-athlete benefits going forward with name, image, and likeness. And it's just going to be a difficult time, perhaps a challenging time, but maybe a fruitful time as well. I think we're always going to have college athletics. We're trying to find our role in that as the Southland Conference, as I know other leagues are as well, and just trying to do the best thing we can for our student-athletes, and with a special focus in this part of the country. And, that's what we're going to remain working on as hard as we can going forward.
Well, sir, thank you so much, and we look forward to the growth and more conversations like this as you continue to move forward. Southland strong, adding one more, and if I'm not mistaken, you still got about slot for 3 more schools to add, right?
Maybe so. If you've got some thoughts in mind, Mike, let me know, and we'll get busy with them.
That'll be another one of those off-the-record conversations that we'll have to have, sir. But we truly appreciate you. He is Tom Burnett of the Southland Conference. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you so much for joining us on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline with 13 different locations to better serve you. Check out the one nearest you. And until the next time, you guys be blessed. And we'll see you on the other side.